We're with you for as long as it takes, Mr. President. Ukrainians are fighting an age-old battle against aggression and domination. It's a battle Americans have fought proudly, time and again. And it's a battle we're going to make sure the Ukrainians are well equipped to fight as well. This is about freedom. Freedom for Ukraine. Freedom everywhere. It's about the kind of world we want to live in, the world we want to leave to our children. So may God protect the brave Ukrainian defenders of their country and keep the flame of liberty burning brightly as we can. Thank you.
Mr. President, why are you taking this decision now? Did Germany force you to change your mind on sending tanks?
Germany didn't force me to change your mind. We wanted to make sure we were all together. That's what we're going to do all along. And that's what we're doing right now. Thank you.
Mr. President, any response to the Pence disclosures of classified documents?
Sir, are the searches of your homes completed?
Mr. President, when is Jeff Zients starting as your next chief of staff?
Will you search for Hobbit?
He's not going to answer a damn thing. He's not going to answer anything. What a weird presser, by the way. He was getting ahead of himself on a couple of things. So like I said, welcome to the show, Dana Loesch here. I wanted to hear a couple of bits of that because I actually the first question asked was literally what I was wondering. I thought he would talk a little bit about that because Germany ended up sending some of their tanks in. And so now apparently we're going to be sending some M1 Abrams. Now, I will say this because I was raising this. I actually looked into this yesterday because they go on jet fuel, right? But apparently they're, I don't know what word you would say for it. They can apparently go on pretty much almost any type of fuel, but they're fuel guzzlers and they get like 3 miles to the gallon. However, I will say the M1 is, that's if you're going to send something in, you know, that's what you're going to send in, right? That's the thing that you're going to send in. So there's a number of ways to look at this. And I noticed that Mike Pompeo, he's on a book tour right now, he's been talking quite a lot about this. So if you're just joining us, President Biden made an announcement that they're sending 31 U.S. M1 Abrams tanks to Ukraine. And I just will say, I just want to remind everybody that, remember, it was Gates, former Defense Secretary Gates, Obama's, who was under Barack Obama, who said that Joe was, quote, wrong on nearly every major foreign policy and national security issue over the past 4 decades. So just want to put that out there. Now, this is expected. These tanks are being sent over there ahead of what many are saying is like the next Russian offensive. And here's what I've been seeing, because you guys know where I stand. I am not a nation builder. I do not like to commit any resources or lives to anything that is not in America's interest. And it feels like a lot of the argument that's being made as to, well, yes, this is absolutely in America's interest, is a little specious. And I talked, Biden was mentioning this UN pact and this thing and I've written a couple of articles about this, how there's this misunderstanding that the United States has to get involved with, and immediately jump in and do and commit itself to any kind of armed conflict, depending on what Ukraine does. And that's an inaccurate reading of that agreement, by the way, which I have poured over extensively on these airwaves and in writing. However, what I've been hearing from folks, and this has been kind of like tossed back and forth on the internet, and I've seen foreign policy hawks, go out and fight this back and forth. The argument that's made is that, well, if Russia is able to, assume control of Ukraine, then they're not going to stop there. They're going to go right up to NATO's borders. Well, aren't they kind of already there? I mean, they're already at NATO's borders. So I find that to be a specious argument because the presupposition is that it's going to expand beyond that and take back those former Soviet republics, which I don't necessarily see that. I mean, I know that they talk a really good game, but when you look at the economy of Russia, and yeah, they got a little bit of a boost because of dirty gas and oil, but when you look at Russia and I mean, they've gone through their young men, the economy can't handle it. China, if there was a serious threat of them actually doing something like that, I think you would have seen more of a partnership between China and Russia than you do now, because China doesn't want to yoke themselves to that. So I just find that to be kind of a weak argument to necessitate, committing even more than this. Now, I just don't, maybe it's not being naive. I'm just kind of sitting back, eyes wide open here, looking at the way this has all been playing out. And I just do not see that. I mean, if you want to have the discussion as to whether or not they're already they already are on NATO borders. It's weird that's the And I've seen that made in like major publications. That argument has been made in major publications. So it just doesn't make, I just don't see that as being something that's legit, because when you look at some of them, you have a bunch that are in the beginning stages. I mean, when you look at the NATO map, I mean, Latvia is a NATO member. Estonia, those are NATO members. Russia borders Latvia and Estonia. So they're already at NATO borders. What is this argument that, well, they're going to expand and then Russia's going to be right in? I mean, they're already near them. So that just doesn't make any sense to me. And Norway's a NATO member. So, and then you have some prospective members that butt right up against. So to me, that just doesn't make that seems like a specious argument to make. So we're sending 31 M1A1 Abrams tanks. That's going to be basically an entire battalion that we're sending over there. And we're also going to have a bunch of M88 recovery vehicles, some heavily armored land craft, things like that. CNBC reported that the Pentagon is going to oversee training, maintenance, and logistics supports for M1A1 tanks. And they're going to train people, because apparently it takes a full 30 days to learn how to operate these things in a competent manner. But I mean, they're pretty much like rolling helms deep. I mean, there's no other way. But they're going to have a battalion. They said they're going to be delivered in the next few months, and that was announced today.